Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome back to another episode of Prepping the Pantry. So today, let's talk a little bit about prepping. We can take one look at all the headlines in the news today and see that the world is in complete chaos. All over the globe, it's chaos, it's craziness. All of the things that are happening. The coronavirus has everyone worried, and that it will become a global pandemic, and it very well may be. I mean, it definitely has the potential to be. You hear my dog drinking his water. Okay, so anyway, we need to be prepared for any disaster that comes our way. Whether it's war or the grid shuts down or a personal crisis. I mean, you could lose your job, anything can happen, or a financial collapse, which is a very big possibility at this point. But whatever the case may be, I mean, if you had to quarantine yourself for a few months inside your home, would you be able to survive? Would you have enough food, water, supplies for you and your family to survive? It's so important that if you haven't started stocking up on food and water, that you do so now. So many people are already preppers. Many people have been preppers for many years. Some people have just started prepping. I've only been prepping for about 5 months, so I feel like I'm really behind. Like I have so much catching up to do, but I just take it one day at a time and do what I can do to make sure that we have enough food and water and medical supplies or whatever else we may need. So some people haven't even started prepping yet, which is kind of not really good. It's not really a good thing. Like, if you don't have food and water, then it's going to be very unlikely that you will survive total chaos. So the time to prep is now. You can start prepping anywhere. You can start storing food and water no matter where you live, whether it's in a city apartment or in the country, wherever you live, it doesn't even matter. You can start prepping now. I mean, you don't want to put yourself or your family in the position to where there's a major crisis and you don't have enough food or enough water. And those are very important things that you need. And maybe even learn about herbal remedies in case you need medication, or in case you need to know how to heal a wound, or vitamins that you could be taking to help boost your immune system. All of those things you could be doing now. So how can you start prepping now? Okay, so you can start prepping by building a food supply. Buying food that you and your family already eat. So you don't want to go out and buy a bunch of food that no one in your house eats. Like if nobody likes the beans, there's not much point in stocking up on tons of beans, because I know a lot of people stock up on beans and rice because it's cheap and it's easy, but at the same time, you're not going to be really happy just eating beans and rice for a long period of time. So you have to store water. Just store water. You can store water in jugs. There's many different ways to store water. You can research those ways. There's special jugs that preppers use to put their water in. Right now I'm just storing my water in gallon jugs because that's what I have. You also want to make sure that you are able to cook the foods that you buy. Whatever you buy, you have to make sure you have a way to cook it and that you know how to cook it. So just educate yourself on those things, because I know it sounds dumb, but a lot of people today really don't know how to cook. And so if you don't have that skill, then maybe you should really make it a priority to figure that out. Another great way to start prepping, which is my favorite way, is to get yourself some seeds and to grow your own food. And if you're in a position like you live in the city and you can't have a garden, you don't have your own food, well, maybe you have relatives or friends or someone who may allow you to use their land, part of their land, to grow some food for yourself and your family on it. And so that's just an idea that I thought I would throw out there. Growing your own food is also the cheapest way to prep. And if you don't know how to can, learn how to can some foods so you can preserve them. Dehydrating. I know a lot of preppers buy the freeze-dried food, the long-term storage food that you can buy online from many different companies. I personally don't do that because I find it to be kind of pricey for my budget. So I just prep, I just have kind of a list that I go by and make sure I have enough of this, enough of this, enough of this. So anyway, so today I'm going to be canning some homemade vegetable soup, and that is I'm going to put that away and put it in the cupboard, and it'll be really easy. Canning homemade soups are a great way to prep because you can just put it away and use it later when you need it because it's already cooked, already done. All you have to do is warm it up and you have dinner or lunch or whatever. So come along with me and we will start making some homemade soup. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is cook up about 4 pounds of hamburger. I cut up a bunch of celery and some carrots. All right, I also cut up about 5 pounds of potatoes. I left them in bigger chunks just because I don't want them to turn to mush when I put them in the canner. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is put in some beef broth. So I have 3 things of beef broth I'm gonna put in. A really easy soup to can and have on hand, because if you're in an emergency situation, you can just take it out and warm it up. It's a lot easier than having to make it from scratch, you know, when you're in an emergency situation. So, all right, so next I'm just gonna add some cans of veggies too because of the juice that's in them. So put 2 cans of green beans in. A couple cans of corn. Then I got a can of peas. I'm gonna throw those in. I like to use this big roaster pan because you can fit a lot in it to if you want to can soup. Okay, so next we're just gonna take our prepared vegetables and we're gonna dump them all in there. Looking good already. And our ground beef. I want to get this as full as I can so that it makes it worth canning. I'm gonna add the minced onions. Okay, so I went ahead and filled it up with water so that it would be full. And I also added some broth base. It's beef flavored, and just to give us some extra flavoring. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to add to this soup is the minced garlic. Garlic is really, really good for you. And it tastes good too. So now we're just gonna stir our soup around. Mix it all in real good. And then I'm just going to bring it to a boil. All right, so while we're waiting for our soup to boil, we are going to get our jars nice and clean in some Dawn dish soap and a little bit of bleach. You want to get your jars nice and clean so that you get a good seal. Okay, I think our soup is ready to be put into the jars. I don't want to totally cook the vegetables because they're going to be in the canner for an hour and a half, so that is going to cook the vegetables, and if you overcook them, it's just going to be mush. All right, we got our soup in the jars, and now we're just going to put them in the canner, and we are going to can them for an hour and a half at 15 pounds of pressure. All right, now it's just a waiting game. We are not going to put the weight on until we see steam coming out for at least 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and put the weight on now, and then we're just going to wait until it comes up to 15 pounds of pressure. The book recommends 10 pounds, but because I live at a higher elevation, I'm going to let it go to 15. All right, our canner is just about at the 15 mark, so we are going to turn heat down a little bit and keep it at steady pressure for an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so I took the first batch out of the canner. Looks really good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put the second batch into the canner, and the only thing that I did different with this batch is that I used tomato sauce. So we have one with tomato sauce and one with just a beef base. All right, we got the last batch done. 6 more jars of vegetable soup canned. One had broke in the canner on me, so it kind of went all over. The bottom came out, but it was kind of an old jar, and that sometimes happens. So, but we have 6 more, so altogether now we have 13. Canning your own homemade soup is a great way to fill up your pantry. Prepping soup in the winter is a great way to get ahead of the game a little too, because once spring comes, you're in the garden, and then summer comes and you're harvesting all fall, and you're canning, and so I like to can homemade soups in the winter time. All right, so I ended up with a total of 13 jars of soup, which doesn't seem like a lot for a family of 6, but it's a start, and I will be doing more soups as we go along. One of my jars broke while I was canning, but it was a really old jar. It was actually a vintage jar that I didn't really mean to use in the first place. So anyway, that happens sometimes. It seems like it happens a lot to me because my jars are old and I really need to buy some new jars. So that's on my agenda too, is I need to stock up on some canning jars and some canning supplies so that I can preserve my harvest from the garden that I'm going to grow this year. So nothing that I said in this video was meant to scare you. It was just to prepare you. And I just want to see all of you prepared for any disaster that comes your way. I do consider myself a beginner prepper because like I said, I just started a few months back, and love for you to follow me along on my journey as we get stocked up and canning and dehydrating and doing all that fun stuff. And I will make another video showing you what exactly that I have bought this week for stocking up. And I did actually go a little crazy, but it'll all be worth it in the end. One thing that I think is really important to remember in all this too is that China is going through a horrible, horrible time over there with this coronavirus. And remember, they didn't get any warning. They had no warning of what was coming at them. And from what I understand, they're not even allowed to store or hoard food in China. So obviously that wasn't an option for them. And had they had any prior notice that this virus was going around before it was already totally out of control, maybe they could have done something to help themselves. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you think about your prepping. So I thank you for joining me today, everyone, and I hope you'll stay tuned for my next episode of Prep in the Pantry, where I show you what I have stacked up already, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great, blessed day.